Hey everybody, it's been a few weeks since I've done a video. As you remember, I've been waiting for parts and whatnot, and I wanted to welcome you to what I'm going to label as my vintage and Chinese test equipment hell. So, as you remember, I mentioned something about the heathkit was being all weird, and as it turned out, the audio pot here is shot. I tried to use some deoxit on it, and it didn't really help. It jumps all over the place, and I basically have no. I mean, normally when you have an audio pot, the difference between an audio and a linear is the audio tends to be the lower, for the first half, tends to not do so much, and all the action happens shortly thereafter. With a linear pot, of course, you get a constant change as you move up. So, because the switch is in this one, I had a little hard time trying to find one. I found one locally, and I was so excited I did not pay that much attention. The one in this one is a 1K with a switch on it, which may have been common back in the day, but is not hardly very common now. So I found one locally here, and I would have to cut the end off of this, but it does have a switch, and it is 1K, and it is audio. That was the clincher, was the audio part. The only problem is I read on the package, I thought it said it had an 8mm connection here, and it doesn't. It actually is a 6. So it's a little too small for the hole. So I found a linear power switch one on, oh, what's the name of the website? I get tubes from them every once in a while. Tubes, I don't know. I'll look it up later, but I'll tell you later. But they do a lot of vintage guitar stuff, so I was able to find a 1K linear with a switch, and I don't have to cut this off. It's actually the right size. So I ordered that, and it should be here next week. If not, I'll figure out a way to make this work, but I just didn't want it to be all loose inside here. The other thing is, while I was at it, I went through here. Originally, you know, I got kind of lazy, and I did not replace the 2 Bumblebee caps out of there. They're both out of tolerance. I replaced this one, but I didn't have the second one. This is a 0.1, and the other one's a 0.2, I believe. And so I had to order that. Fortunately, I caught that before I made the order to Just Radios, and I ordered it from them. And I got in under the wire because apparently they were going on vacation for 2 weeks, starting, I guess, last Friday. So while I was at it, I pulled out my DTVM from Eico, which, as you can see, is sat in the sun. And it was not working right either. As it turned out, the zero adjust pot had gone bad. I was able to find one of those locally and replaced it, so that's fine now. But it was jumping all over the place. All I would have to do is just flip a switch, and it would go out of whack. And if you just tapped on it, you could get the needle to go every which way. So fortunately, it just was this, which I replaced. The other thing is I found an open resistor in here and a couple of out of tolerance resistors. The funny thing is that this was rebuilt at some point, or was repaired at some point. It still has most of its original resistors in it. The funny thing is the original resistors are still fine. In fact, I was pretty amazed. Almost all of them were dead on. And since it's 1% resistors that are in here, you know, obviously you want to replace them with 1%, or at least if you can find some 5% or 2% that are right on. But the replacement ones are the ones that went bad, so I found that a little interesting. And they also use some pretty weird values. I could not find, there's a 90 mega ohm one that I just could not find, so I'm going to have to combine a couple to make 90. And it is one of the 1% required resistors, so you know, I couldn't be too far off the mark on that one. And at 90, you know, you can only go 1%. You can only go maybe 1 in either direction. So I'm still waiting on that one. And the other thing that really annoys me is, yeah, I hate to rag on Chinese stuff, but my Victor here, my VC3165, which is very accurate, I have to say. However, I was messing around with the heathkit, and I know I tested the Victor when I first got it, but the Victor now no longer will read between 38 and 26 megahertz. Not that I can see that I would ever have a reason to need to do anything in the low VHF range, because I believe that's still for pagers and maybe military use, but my experience has kind of shown that once something goes wrong, it's like cancer, it's going to spread. So right now the 3165 reads fine all the way up to the 110, and the way the Victor works is it's one port goes from 0.01 hertz to 50, and then the other one is 50 to 2.4 gigahertz. So the A port here just does not read above 25. It just this thing dances all over the place. And I've switched over to the 50 megahertz and have it switched here, I can actually get it down to about 38 before this starts to wig out again. So I guess I need to spend the money. I try. People say stuff about, oh, you can get this for cheap and this for cheap, but their idea of cheap and my idea of cheap tend to be a little bit different. I don't consider $500 to be cheap. Apparently, a lot of guys in this hobby have a hell of a lot more money than I do. So, anyway, I just wanted to bring you up to that. I kind of wish I had a little bit better multimeter here. I'm using this I've been using this EX Tech 430, which is very popular. It's been around for, gosh, about 12 or 13 years now. But it only reads up to 10 megahertz, and it's not quite as accurate as the Victor up here. So that's kind of where I've been, and I'm going to do another video as I part something out, because I wanted to also show you that in my travels I came across a 1936 Philco 624, which is a battery set. It's basically the same as the 623B, but this is just a plain old 6 volt for a 6 volt battery. This is not for the 623 is the one with the separate different batteries. I believe it's the the 90 volt and the 1.5. Interestingly enough, this shares a heck of a lot of parts with the 610, including, there's two reasons I bought this. First of all, as you recall, my dial scale was scratched up. This one is not. In fact, it's quite perfect. The paint is perfect. So that was the main reason here I bought this. The second reason is this has the original chevron grill cloth, and although it has a few little nicks in it, that grill cloth is worth its weight in gold. I just recently saw the swatch, a 10 by 12 swatch of the reproduction cloth that used to be made by grillcloth.com. Unfortunately, the weaving mill went out of business, so that stuff got eaten up immediately. And I just recently saw a swatch of the replica go for $55 on eBay. And although this is not what I would use in the 610, that's not what it came with, it's kind of good to have around. So I'm going to do another video after this just showing me we're going to part this out. It's kind of a neat set. The other thing too is that I may be able to recover a little bit of cost. I couldn't get the guy down below $41. I think it was $41.25 is what we finally settled on. This thing is just falling apart. I would turn it around for you to show you the back now, but every time I touch it, it falls apart even more. The wood is just, it was sitting in the rafters of a garage forever. I'm not even sure how well it was, if it was even ever used. So I'm going to go ahead and check that out. Another thing I wanted to say is the dial scales. The dial scale in here is exactly the same as the 610, and I may actually use that because it's in pretty good condition. Although this is missing the coarse adjust on the vernier dial, but I did get my Radio Days dial. I should have ordered from Mark Opat, and I'm going to show you why, or Oppet, excuse me. The original scale, as you can see, they have these little wavy lines in here, and you can see those when you're tuning. Interestingly enough, the one from Radio Days, they got a little lazy. They do not have the wavy lines. Mark Oppet's does. So if anybody's wondering what the difference is besides the $6 or $7 that Radio Days was cheaper, Mark's are more accurate. So that's something that's good to know. So I'll go ahead and part this thing out, and I'm going to upload this, and just so you guys know, I'm still alive, and things are, well, I'm just waiting for parts. And of course, like I said, until I get all of this settled over here, I can't, well, I have a ancient Radio Shack analog multimeter I can use for alignment, but right now it's accurate enough to do an alignment, but I'm just mostly, like I said, waiting for parts. Once I get the rest of the parts, we're ready to go. The radio just needs to be aligned, and I'll show you all that. So anyway, I'll end this now, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.